Ladies and gentlemen, on this channel, we've so often discussed issues of taste and interpretation. One person plays a piece a little stronger than another, one person plays a particular section a little louder or softer than another, and music, of course, has room for so many different interpretations. But every now and then there's a performance that misses the mark entirely, and that's what we're looking at today. It's a performance of the Etude in D sharp minor of Alexander Scriabin, Opus 8, number 12. It is a piece that embodies that Russian soul and that element of suffering that's so common in the Russian composers. And Scriabin, if you don't know his music, it is wild. It's something really to explore. Now, we're listening to a performance today by Rousseau. And although he's got the notes down, and granted, this is not easy to play technically, it really misses everything that this piece is about, and I'm going to show you why. So let's jump in and listen to this performance of the Etude in D sharp minor by Alexander Scriabin as performed by Rousseau. Here we go. Gosh, okay. This one is hard to take. Oh boy, okay, all right. Now take a look at the beginning of this piece. We begin with this energetic gesture, da-dum. It has to be sharp, it has to be precise, and the whole thing has to be a little faster, to be frank. So we have to have da-dum, and then notice how we have these huge leaps all over the place in the left hand, and the right hand as well, da-dum. Ba-dum. This huge octave jump followed by the fifth, which is a very dissonant place to land because against the harmony, it doesn't fit. It resolves downwards. So you have to play more here. Feel that tension and feel the note sinking down. But most importantly, you have to feel all of these grand gestures. You can't just sort of play the notes here like this. Instead, you have to do something like this. Da-dum. And by the way, you have to feel the way each phrase builds upon the last. We start with da-dum, ba-da, ya-da-da-da-da-dum, to here. The next one, going up to here. And the third one is the highest one of all, going up da-da-dum, ba-da-dum. Now there's a really important element when you're playing these sorts of gestures as well, and Scriabin actually writes it for us, but we don't get a sense of it at all in this recording. It is these sort of mini leaps when we have these jumps. So we have da-dum, da-dum. It's as if we're jumping and then a landing again, and you have to take just a little bit of time, and after that we have the same gesture, ya-da-da-da-da-dum, da-dum. So ya-da-da-da-dum, holding and then coming back down, and that's why Scriabin writes this little 16th rest in there, da-da-da, rest, da-da-dum. And you can't just play the rhythm of the attacks of the notes because you're completely missing the idea of the gesture. So all of this, as the Russians would call intonation, the way that the notes link one to the next, has to be there. Let's continue on and take a look at what Rousseau does here and what the piece is calling for. So all those da-da gestures have to be shorter, not da-da. Okay, and he's got the right idea here. Let's say when he comes down into this ya ta 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 tum ta tum. We're transitioning, of course, into the second section of the piece, and he reduces the dynamic, and that's good. But it would be so much more effective if everything before was way more full of energy. Now, with the left hand, you need to play also with a bit of rubato because you have to feel everywhere sort of the tension between these notes. It can't be da-dun, 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 da-dun. If you do this, it's just too matter of fact. You have to feel those intervals. Now, notice, by the way, what Scriabin is doing also in this music with the bass. The bass is always so important to listen to. We have this D sharp, right? In the bass, D sharp, and we're sitting on D sharp, we're staying on D sharp. Again, D sharp in the bass, D sharp in the bass, still D sharp in the bass. You know, this is what we call a pedal point, but it's increasing the tension of this piece, right? Because we keep sitting on the same note, and all of these harmonies above are going against that D flat. We continue on, we're still going against the D sharp in the bass, and always so, and finally we get this. And that has to be such a massive, powerful arrival point, and we just don't get it in this performance. It's building, building, building tension until we basically explode onto this G sharp, excuse me, here, this note, and then listen to what happens after that with the bass notes. Ta-ta-dum, ya-dum, and T sharp again, and here, wow, now we get everything an octave lower. And by the way, a good key to how to interpret a piece has to do with the way the composer writes and which registers of the piano he uses. Even in the music of Bach, this is important. But here, look at the way Scriabin is writing. Bomb, huge, deep bass notes, a huge range between the hands. And instead of the way he wrote the first time, where we had the D sharp here, dropping it down creates a big change in the sound, wouldn't you say? We have this huge bass on it, and you can imagine, of course, on a concert grand piano, the way that sort of note sings out and is so intense. And so I would just love to hear so much more attention to the sort of the orchestration, if you will, of this piano piece, the way Scriabin uses the different registers of the piano. Pay attention to those kinds of things and let them shape your interpretation. That will really help. It can be hard to learn piano from YouTube, picking up a little bit here and a little bit there, but never really knowing, is this something I need to know right now? Where does this fit in with my overall development in the piano? That's why I created the Peterson Piano Academy piano course. It's a 15-level course with over 200 videos. We really go into detail on theory, technique, repertoire, and every piece we play in the course is in the original version as intended by the composer. You can use the A/B looping feature to loop over a particularly tricky portion of the video for practice purposes. You can obviously slow down the video, and best of all, anytime you have any questions, you can use this Ask Jason button to contact me. You can send me an audio recording, you can send me a video recording and get personalized feedback on your own playing. There are also quizzes so you can test your knowledge along the way. PetersonPianoAcademy.com. The link is in the description. Now we come into this middle section, and it is, of course, just bubbling with energy, even though it has a very different character. Let's listen to this. Oh, God. Okay, I'm sorry, but this is just, it's so far off the mark. If you know anything about the Russian style and Russian piano playing, these lines, they cannot be played da-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-tum. They're full of leaps, they're full of expressive harmonic moments. Ya-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, ya-ta-ta, ya-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-tum. Surprise with the piano there. There are all kinds of really cool twists and turns of harmony, of melody, of phrasing in this middle section, and you have to pay attention to what's going on in the music. It is not enough by any stretch of the imagination to just play the notes and follow the few markings that are here in the score. If you do that, you're 10% of the way there in terms of interpretation. Let's keep going. He's right to bring out the bass there. You know, again, we have this huge bass note here, bum, bum. But what does he give us? He just sort of gives us this, whatever, this light bass note. It needs to be da-da-dum, exploding onto these deep bass. That's why, think about it from the perspective of a composer. You can write anything under the sun, but you choose to write dum-bum, this deep bass note. There's a reason for that. And listen, by the way, to the harmony. So let me just walk you through this a little bit. If we have a section like this, you know, da-da-dum, suddenly we're dropping back down, da-da-da-da-dum, da-dum, and again the jumping gesture with the ba-da-dum, da-da-dum, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, bass notes to A in the bass, ya-da-da-da-da-da. Again, a sudden change, ya-da-da-dum, a different color, and listen to the pain of these intervals. I mean, my goodness, way the right hand interacts with the left here, sforzando, resolving down, it's so painful. And da-da-da-da, we get again deep bass notes, da-da, sequence there, by the way, right? Da-da-da-da. And then suddenly, and a lot of people drop back down here. Sorry about the wrong notes. I haven't played this in ages, but that's the idea. There's so much opportunity here to do all kinds of cool twists and turns with the sounds. Let's continue on. And the changes have to be more surprising and sudden. Okay, and here is a place where just the slow tempo starts to show. This place, Scriabin changes now the accompaniment. We had all of these leaps and everything, all this stuff. Now we get this sort of... You have to listen to Horowitz's story about meeting Scriabin. He says that Horowitz was sitting there and sort of, he had like tics and was a very strange guy and very neurotic. And this kind of writing, it's like, it's like almost like you grab onto an electric fence or something. Okay, this is really important, and it has to go fast because otherwise you miss that kind of crazy neuroticism and that energy that you have in this ending. Listen to the performance by Vladimir Horowitz, for example, a fellow Russian who, like I said, actually met Scriabin. You'll hear that energy and you'll hear just the pounding of the bass notes and that sense of suffering. It's just, like I said, this just completely misses the mark. Let's continue on and see what we have in this music. It's just so plodding through all of this. I mean, it's not all completely wrong, don't get me wrong. And right here, by the way. So this is another section where you could suddenly drop back and create such a cool change. You're coming down, you've got all this loud music and because from here the music starts to build and build until we land on this humongous, crazy bass note. We'll talk about that in just a second. But like I said, so many opportunities to create surprises that really, really capture the attention of the listeners here. Now in this section, we have these harmonies. They just don't fit together and the tension is so palpable. Listen to this. You have to understand a bit of the Russian soul and the spirit in order to play this music. We have this huge buildup and we land on this note and listen to the way that the harmonies just don't fit together. We're sort of expecting in this place, to maybe land on a tonic chord, but instead we get this crazy chord, which moves on, and listen to the bass. It's moving up chromatically. Wow, more chromatic notes. The harmonies are so crazy, and forgive me if I play a wrong note occasionally in here because I haven't played it, like I said, in a long time. Although I have recorded actually all of these Scriabin etudes, great pieces. And let's look at how we finish the piece here. Let's see how Rousseau brings the piece to a close. Again, that has to be sharp, right? Da-dum, ba-dum. Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's talk about that ending. What you gotta do here, da-dum, da-dum. This has to be triple fortissimo, and this da-dum has to be sharp, and afterwards, just plow into the keys. Da-dum, da-dum. You can, fortissimo, you can practically play with your finger like this into the key, da-dum, so that note really comes out. And then at the end, these, a lot of people drop back down here again to, and it has to be fast at the end, leading all the way to the top without any change in the without any relenting in that energy, and then these big chords at the end. The problem here is that I think Rousseau is just a bit out of his depth with this piece. It requires so much energy and so much passion, and it's really lacking in this performance. The notes are there, that's fine. Like I said, it's not any small accomplishment, of course, for an amateur pianist to learn this piece, but if you're interested in playing it yourself, or you're just interested in learning more about this music, you've got to feel that tension and the push and pull between these harmonies and the notes. I hope you've enjoyed these comments on this wonderful Scriabin etude. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos like this one. See you again soon.